Hey guys, my name's Morgan and I want to talk about the art of inviting. So I think a lot of people have misconceptions about this business and what you need or need to have in order to do this business well. And I think one of the biggest things is that people think that you need to have a huge network, or another thing I hear is a huge social media following in order to be really successful at this business. And that simply is just not true. I think really the only thing that you need to do to be super successful at this business is be consistent and know how to invite people well. So what I mean by that is know how to invite people to take a closer look at your business opportunity well. And so Eric Worre, the author of GoPro, which is on your reading list, and if you haven't already checked it out, make sure that you have it on your to-do list to read in your first 30 days. Has a whole section of his book on just on inviting. So it's a system essentially that he gives you, and it has literally action steps and scripts and all sorts of great pointers on what to do and what not to do for inviting. And so I think it's pages 46 through 66. And it's just a really awesome overview. And so that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today, is going over that system, and especially for those of us who are new and are thinking like, what did I get myself into? I have no idea what I'm doing. So let's talk a little bit about action steps. So I have a handy little whiteboard here. And let's talk about what you need to do in terms of action steps as a newbie and to be successful at inviting, or to just invite. So the first thing that you need to do in terms of actions to invite people when you're new is, you're going to be like, okay, Morgan, but literally talk to people. So yeah, like this is kind of obvious, but you're not going to have new prospects, or like you're not going to be able to invite people if you're not talking to people. But this is obviously also super key, because if you're not talking to people, then you're not prospecting people and you're not finding new people to look at your opportunity. And there's no way that you can invite well if you can't talk to people at all. So in your first 30 to 90 days, you're actually going to talk to, don't freak out when I tell you this, but in our system, we have created a method so that you will talk to 1,000 people in your first 30 days. And you're like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown. I know, my mind was blown too when I first heard that. But there's a really good reason for the fact that you're going to talk to this many people, and it's spread out so that it's not overwhelming. It actually feels very natural, especially if you do it in a way that's set out in your DMO. And all of you should have either heard about that in the training, or will hear about that soon. And so 1,000 people. So I want you to think about something for a second. If you talk to 1,000 people, like in a conversation, let's say over social media, because most of us are going to be building our business over social media. Not every single person that you talk to is going to message you back. So I'm going to break down something for you for why we're talking to this many people. So say you're talking to 1,000 people. You message 1,000 people over the course of this amount of time, and obviously, like, not every single person is going to message you back. So you're building relationships, you're messaging people, and out of 1,000 people, only 500 people message you back. So you got a 50-50 shot. I think those are pretty good odds, personally. And out of those 500 people, you're having a conversation with them. You're not just what I like to call link dropping, where you're dropping a link for your business opportunity and be like, hey, check out my business opportunity. Like, no, why would I do that? I have no idea who you are. So we're in the business of building relationships, guys. Don't be link droppers. Don't be those random people that just like comment on people's things with their business opportunity. Like, no, we need to build relationships before we share our opportunity. So please don't link drop on people. People do not like that. So out of the 500 people, when you're developing those relationships and having those conversations, with about 250 of them, you'll get to a point where you have the opportunity to talk about the business. And of that 250, only about, let's see, I did the math, guys, I promise. Only about 100 of them will actually, after they check out our webinar and learn about it, will be interested and want to proceed forward with joining the team. And I think that's a pretty good number. You know, like 250 people watch it and 100 people are interested in joining the team. Pretty good numbers to me. However, not everybody is consistent. Their actions are consistent with their words. And so out of those 100 people that say, yes, I'm going to join, you know, like, sign me up, only 70 people actually do sign up. And I think even from maybe like however far you are in this business, a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months, however far it is, you already probably know that this business, while it may be simple, so your action steps are very simple, but this business is not easy. It takes grit, it takes determination, and it takes perseverance. So those 70 people realize that, and maybe they realized it at the beginning, but they didn't have that grit, or maybe they didn't realize it, and regardless, they didn't have that grit. So out of those 70 people, only 30, that was a terrible 30, guys, only 30 people were able to actually have the grit and determination and perseverance to be successful in this business. So we go from 1,000 people to, that was still a terrible 30, to 30 people, guys. So that is why, right there, we talked to 1,000 people. And some of you might find this discouraging, but I want you to think about it in a way that's actually, like, this is actually comforting. And I find it comforting because, like, if you can handle hearing no from people, and I want you guys to all read another book on your recommended reading list called Go for No, or listen to it on audio, because if you can reframe your mind and the way you think about hearing no, so not as a form of rejection or somebody rejecting you or as you failing, but rather as like, okay, maybe it's a no for now, or like, you know, why are you saying no? And like completely change their mindset too. Or like, that's okay, you know, this business opportunity or this program isn't for everybody. And just let that like completely like slide off of you. You know, they're not rejecting you, it's just not for them. And if you can see it like that and like swim through those no's and know that regardless of those no's, like in those no's, you're going to find those 30 rock stars, and you can be okay with that and know that like, okay, I'm going to talk to this many people and I'm going to find those rock stars and I'm going to swim through those no's, I'm going to like brush them off, and I'm going to look for those yeses, because in those no's there are these rock stars, and these rock stars have these yeses. So if you can think about it like that, I think that's where your business is really going to explode. You emotionally detach from the situation, and just know that like you're going to be consistent. You're going to have that grit because you were one of these people, and your business is going to be extremely successful, and you're going to be successful. So yeah. So number one, talk to people. And then the second action step would be, we already talked to a little bit about link dropping, but in terms of this business being a relationship building business, I kind of mentioned that briefly, but it's so important that you guys realize this early on, because when you make it about the other person and what you can do for them rather than what they can do for you and how they can help your business, that's when you're going to see that turnaround in your business, and it's also that turnaround in your mindset, and that's what actually makes it, I think, a lot more valuable, and I think you just have that, like, it comes back to you. And So in that relationship building and having those conversations and meeting people, and like I think that's one of the most awesome things about network marketing is that like that's what we're getting paid for, guys, is building relationships. So like start seeing it like that, and build those relationships, have those conversations, get to know people. And so don't be a link dropper, but action step number 2 would be send people a link. Send people a link. So once you get to a point in a conversation where you feel like it's a natural progression to actually be able to share your business opportunity, and you develop that relationship with them where they feel like they would have the trust to feel comfortable with that as well. So you're not just like right off the bat being like, look at my opportunity. You're not a used car salesman, and we don't want you to be that. So then you can go ahead and send them that link. And if they're interested, then you can do action step number 3, which is put them in front of your mentor. So everyone starts out the same place in this business, and everyone is given a mentor. And I think it's super important to realize that your mentor is given to you for a reason. One, because none of us know what we're doing at first, and also because you're not expected to do this business by yourself. You're given a mentor to help you and to help you be the most successful business person as possible. So because you're not expected to do this alone, your mentor is going to be there to hop on a 3-way call with you after you share that link with somebody and when they're interested, and to essentially lead that call or those first few calls, and in doing so teach you how to lead that call so that you can do that on your own and then do that for your team later on too. And so literally when you start out, like, you don't have to know everything, guys. Your mentor is going to show you the process, and you can still make money by not knowing everything, which is awesome. That was a concept that like blew my mind at first, and like I wasn't even sure if I was comfortable with that. I was like, is that okay? Like, am I okay to be doing this? But like, yeah, that's what this is all about, and it's about learning and doing. And kind of the cool thing about network marketing too is like, whereas with other businesses, like, you really need to be understanding and like researching and knowing everything before you actually have any action steps, or do anything for that matter. Network marketing is actually the opposite, whereas if you don't do your action steps before you kind of know everything, you might fall behind. And so get out of your comfort zone, get out of your head, and rock it, guys. So a couple other things real quick. I kind of talked about go for no, but it's important to remember that like a no for now is not a no for forever, and that like I just tried to erase with the wrong side. That a no for now is not a no for forever. So emotionally detaching is super important. And not just in like hearing no, but also in conversations. So if you like are in a conversation with someone that you think would be awesome for this business, being emotionally detached enough to say like whatever they say, whatever the outcome, I'm just here in this conversation with them with no alternative motives. I just want to talk to this person, and whatever they say after, you know what I mean, like I'm going to show them my business opportunity because I think that this business is awesome, and you never know what this business could do for somebody else, and you never know what people are going to say. So get out of your head for all those people that are like, like this person is going to say no, so I'm not even going to message them, or like I'm scared of what this person is going to think of me. And when you do that, you automatically already like taint the situation and the conversation. So that's another thing. Get out of your head and don't have preconceptions about any conversation or any person, because you're automatically tainting the conversation when you do that. So never prejudge anybody. Again, you never know what this business could do for somebody. Like, this business changed my life, and I know it's changed the lives of many of the girls that are on our team and outside of our team, many of the people that are outside of our team. And so just remember that. Think about what it's done for you, and if you could have the opportunity to do that for somebody else, like, who cares what they think about you? That's our mission, guys. So get out of your head, get into your heart. I know it's cheesy, but like, that's what we're doing, guys. So yeah. And then emotionally detaching. So don't think about what the outcome is going to be, because then you're going to also taint that situation with whatever preconceptions that you have. So if you're like super excited, then it might scare the person off. Or if you're desperate and you really need a new teamie, that's going to come off, and nobody wants like desperation to come off in their messages. So emotionally detach. And then bring passion, guys. Like, bring passion and bring confidence, even if you don't know what you're doing. Obviously, this opportunity drew you for a reason. These products drew you for a reason. We have 35 peer-reviewed clinical studies on our products. One of the only FDA and TGA approved nutraceuticals that I've ever heard of, or products for that matter, in our industry. And they've helped so many people that, I mean, anecdotally, like, we've all heard stories and we've all seen the results in ourselves. Like, I know my skin, my hair, my digestion, like, I could go on for a while, but like, I don't even know where I was going with that, guys, but sorry, I get excited sometimes. But oh yeah, confidence. So like, just think about the fact that, like, obviously something drew you to this, and we've all heard things like within our own teams, and like, feel free to talk to everybody in your own team, and other leaders besides your mentor too, to hear about like what the products have done for them, or the program, and like, build that confidence and build that belief, and whatever belief and confidence you have in the beginning, use that and amplify it. You know, like, it might take time, it will take time to like completely have like all of that belief and confidence, because at the start you don't know everything, but that's also okay. But like, your clients or potential team members are not going to believe in your product and your program if you don't. So it's so important to amplify that belief that you do have, until you completely 100% have that belief inside you. So a couple little tidbits. I now want to talk about the actual steps that Eric Worre talks about in his book, also about inviting. So a lot of times you would get to a point in a conversation where you talk to somebody, and it's important to have like your little, I guess, one-liner where people, it's important to kind of direct the situation or conversation to where you want it to go. So for instance, like, talking about career or what people's dreams are is always a good way to send the conversation, because generally you can talk about then what you do, and get into that, like, or if somebody doesn't like what they do, and you're talking about career, then you can, like, then usually the conversation will shift to what you do, or like another example, like, if somebody doesn't like what they do, like what I just said, you could say like, well, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? And people, like, some people don't know what to do with that question. You're like, maybe they've never thought about it, but I think it's kind of a cool thing to see people, like, when you see that light in their eyes, and it's like, they start like seeing that dream for themselves, and it's like thinking that you could help them achieve that, and you helping them see that, like, that's the art of inviting, guys, because that's where it begins, is right there. So and then you might say something like, whatever your one-liner is. So like, they say like whatever their dream is, and then they say like, well, what do you do? and you say, you know, what your one-liner is. So have this down, guys. I've heard a lot of different ones depending, and also can change a little bit depending on the situation. So if somebody's super interested in building their business online and social media, then you could say, I empower women and help them get healthy and build my business online through social media. Something like that. Have your one-liner, know it, and be ready with it. And then, you know, you can say something like, you be awesome at what I do, or something like that. And the other person, that might be before you say what you do, or you could go ahead and like even like spit in after you say your one-liner, like, you know what, like, you'd actually be really awesome at what I do. So little things like that, like, and you know, it's super important to always be genuine too. So in talking about these things, just think about like how it might work in a conversation that you would actually say, because ultimately, if it's not genuine, it's not authentic, and it's not from you, then it's not going to work. And people can always tell when you're being authentic. So that's really, really important. All right, so after you said, you know, you be awesome at what I do, then I want you to think about these things. So Eric Worre in his book talks about some of these steps in terms of inviting. So his first step is be in a hurry. So what does that mean? So the main reason for this, be in a hurry when you're talking about your business opportunity, is essentially have some sort of distraction for yourself. And I know this is like, you're like, where is this coming from? But create a distraction for yourself, or have some sort of distraction for yourself. And the reason for this is because when we have too much time to talk about our business opportunity, or tend to like over-explain things, we tend to word vomit on people, and that never goes well when you're trying to prospect or invite somebody. So being in a hurry and having a set amount of time, or an exit strategy at the very end, which is actually the very last step, by being in a hurry and creating your exit strategy at the very beginning, so like being like, oh, hang on, like I just received, people don't talk like that, do they? I just, you know, got a text, like texting, be like, yeah, and then, you know, talk about your opportunity. And then at the end, you're like, you know what, I really have to go actually, and like hold up your phone like it was the text that you got at the beginning of the conversation, but it was like so great, you know, that sort of thing. So I think the main point is just make it clear that there's some sort of distraction, and that like whatever it is, you have an exit strategy at the end. So kind of keep that in mind, and do not word vomit. That's the other thing. And then step 2. And again, when I was talking earlier about being authentic, it's really important for step 2 as well. Compliment them. So you want to give them like a really genuine compliment, and that's going to build that rapport, help you start that conversation a little bit more, get into that conversation, build that trust, and like everyone loves a compliment, and it's just something genuine that's coming from you. Have it be a real compliment. Like, don't just say like, I like your shoes, or I like your purse, when you think it's like actually really hideous, because like people can tell again when you're being genuine. So be genuine, be authentic, like have it be a true compliment that's coming from the heart. So compliment them. Step 3. Ow, my hair just got caught in my chair, guys. So after you've complimented them, then that's when you can go ahead and make the invitation. So when you're inviting somebody, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And I guess I should write this down. And so whatever, you might be talking to somebody in person, or you might be talking to somebody on social media, or wherever you're talking to somebody, it might be more of a direct approach, so you talk to them super openly about the opportunity, or it might be more of an indirect approach, so you talk to them like kind of more slowly and broadly about it, and then you more directly talk to them and send them a link, or you invite them to a live webinar. And I think live webinars are great because you can see everyone there, and like feel more of the community. So if you can send somebody and invite them to a live webinar, then that's always awesome. But if they can't make the live webinar, you can always send them a recording and a link. And so then this next step, step 4. This is, so you've made the invitation, but you haven't actually done anything yet at this point in terms of actions. This is really important. So again, this is going to kind of depend on if you're talking to somebody in person or over social media or on the phone or whatnot. But step 4 is essentially, and I just misspelled this. If I, would you? So what does this mean? So Eric Worre talks about this being a super powerful statement, because essentially it is an agreement with somebody that they are going to do the action or whatever you invited them to, or check out whatever you have asked them to. So for instance, if I sent you a link, would you watch it? And you're pretty much really direct, like you're really directly, boldly asking somebody after you've already made the invitation, and they've said yes and they're interested. You're now directly asking somebody to check it out even further. So if I sent you a link, would you watch it? So now they're accepting, they say yes, and that's like kind of an agreement between the both of you that they're going to watch it. And those particular words in that order, when people say that they're going to do something, generally, especially like over more of a business, I think it's like less casual. Like, it depends, I guess, who you're talking to, but generally when you put it in this context and in those words, it tends to be a little bit more professional and more of a professional agreement. So generally people will watch it, and that's the agreement that, yes, I will watch that link because you send it to me. Or if you send it to me, I will watch that link. So step 5 is confirming a follow-up before you actually send them the link. So I'm going to tell you how you would do this in a second. So one thing that we like to say, or that I like to say, for instance, is before like I send somebody a link, I ask them when would be a great time to follow up, and like literally as simple as that. Like assuming that like this is a little bit more professional, like I guess it would depend on who I was talking to, but if I was talking to somebody that I didn't know as well, maybe, I was like, assuming that this opportunity resonates with you, I'd love to follow up on a call after you have a chance to check out the webinar. What would be a good time to talk or to chat? And then they'll give me a time, and then I'll send them the link. So super easy, like nothing we're not talking about like rocket science or anything complicated here. Don't overcomplicate any of these steps. Just think about it like literally like what it is. So I know sometimes we have a tendency to overcomplicate some of the steps in this business, but overall it's very simple. Again, not easy, but simple. So just follow these steps, and yeah, so step 6, confirm the commitment. So it's important also, like what in the example that I just mentioned to you, like if I was chatting to somebody over social media and they said that 10 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday would be a good time to follow up, and that was before I sent them the link. Then I'd be like, okay, great, I'll talk to you at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. I've got that locked in the diary. Or you guys say diary in Australia. I'm hanging out with way too many Australian people lately. In the USA, we would actually say calendar, so I've got that in my calendar. So confirm the commitment. So essentially you're just restating back to them what they've already committed to. And that's just, again, like another agreement that like that's what they've said. And it also makes it so that it's kind of like they're making the call and not you, and the time, and then that way it's their decision, and it makes it a lot more likely that they're going to actually be on that call. So step 7 would be confirm the next call. So in the book it's confirm the next call, but we've actually already done that because the next call would be the follow-up call. But whenever you're on any sort of call with a prospect or somebody who hasn't completely committed yet, it's always important to have that next call confirmed before you get off the phone or the chat or whatever with the person. So confirm the next call. And then, unfortunately, I'm out of room. So the last step is kind of something that we already talked about, but so you've confirmed all of these things with them. You know when you're gonna send them the link, and or you already have, and you've confirmed that you're gonna have a follow-up call with them, and then you've already created this distraction at the beginning, because remember, you're in a hurry. And even if you're chatting, you know, you're like, I have to go really soon because of whatever reason. Or even if it's over an extended period of time, that could make it easier or could make it harder. But if you're chatting to somebody like who's responding to you immediately, then it's super important to create that urgency so that you have this exit strategy. So number 8 is exit or exit strategy. So, yeah, just again, this is another opportunity after you've already confirmed all this to word vomit on people. So, that's why it's now important to get out of there again, no word vomit, and just go ahead and follow up with them or do whatever you need to do that you said. And it's always so important, guys, especially in this industry, to follow through with any commitments in the time frame that you said you were going to do them. So if people feel like they can't trust you or you didn't follow through with what you were supposed to do, then you're pretty much like, you're donezo. You need to be the commitment queen. And by that I mean, like, you follow up with every single person you're going to follow up with in the time frame that you're going to follow up with. You're sitting on a Zoom call somebody said they were going to be there, they're not there, you're sitting there, like, it doesn't matter if you're on your Zoom call by yourself, like, you're there regardless. So you guys get what I mean, but Commitment Queens, that is my challenge for you guys. So in essence, that is the art of inviting. I think you guys are all going to be amazing at it, and I have 100% belief in all of you. So don't forget to read the inviting chapter of Eric Worre's book. This is literally going to be so handy for you guys, and like I still reference this book all the time, and I've been in the business for like over 6 months at this point. So go rock it, guys. I'm super excited for you.